Good morning, everyone, again. When I realized that I would be speaking today, a day of honoring fathers and the men in our community, I wondered if I was the right person for the job, being a woman. And then I realized that I had a lot to say about my own father, the father my husband has become, and the relationships between men and women as pathways for spiritual unfoldment. I'd like to begin by honoring my own father, Robert Edmund Clark, for whom I was named. He passed away so very many years ago, yet it is my belief that his spirit is actively and vibrantly present with us this morning. My father taught me so much about faith. Perhaps not surprisingly to those who know me, my dad was virtually the king of positive thought. He seemed to be a natural optimist. He regularly peered up at the morning sky, stretching mightily and saying, "It's just the kind of day that makes you glad to be alive." And then he'd laugh heartily and often. And I love to tell the story, like the stories that he would tell us, like so many of the Scotch Irish. And he loved to tell his tales over and over sometimes. And my dad is the kind of guy that he truly never met a stranger. He called me by private nicknames, and he told jokes, and he sang in perfect harmony with my mother. We wrestled and tickled, and he swung me about with the strength of a giant, it seemed to my child self. I hold a clear image in my mind of holding his hands while he danced with me, placing my small feet on the top of his polished black and white wingtip shoes, making me feel like a princess as we whirled gracefully through the room to the sounds always of his beloved big band music. Like most children, I suppose, I thought that the man I knew was the man he had always been, and perhaps would always be. But there was so much I didn't yet understand. So much of who I am I owe to the dad I knew so well, I thought. And yet there are parts of him that it seemed I never really knew. The parts that are surprising to me in some unknown, as someone known as being a perpetual optimist. Everyone would say that about my dad. And yet my dad experienced many deep tragedies in his life. Hang in there, there's a happy ending. His mother was chronically ill, and he frequently had to stay home from school to assist her. She died at a very early age. And my dad, his father, committed suicide. And my dad found him in their family barn. My dad married at a very early age to a young woman he loved deeply, they say. And after a very brief time, she was killed in an accident at a local sawmill, dying in my father's arms. He then spent many years in the Army as both a medic and a reconnaissance man, as he called it. He landed on the beaches of Normandy on D-Day, and he survived the Battle of the Bulge in Germany. He received a battlefield commission from General Patton himself when it was discovered that he had taken charge of the MASH unit after all of his superiors had been killed. When he came home from the war, he discovered that a family member, not really sensing that he would be returning, had betrayed him and had spent every penny of his wartime pay. Take a breath. How did my dad move from places of illness and destruction, violence and betrayal, to all these light-filled places that I knew him to dwell in? What were the tools he used to release feelings of resentment or outrage? Didn't he feel them? I can only guess. For these parts of his life were never spoken on, dwelled on. In fact, he often said that his true life really began when he met my mother on a blind date. So maybe there is a clue. In the world the two of them created, a world centered in faith in a loving God within. In the last decade of his life, my dad experienced a series of serious health challenges. Though his spirit remained, his body weakened. And during a long surgery for a benign brain tumor, he suffered a stroke and was left partially paralyzed. Another clear image I hold in my mind is of holding his hands during his recovery, helping him to learn how to walk all over again. I gained a perspective on parents and just how fluid the relationships between parents and children really are over the years. At the time, it seemed shocking, surreal at best, so different from how he had always been. We dance together now only in our dreams. He did, though, regain much of his health slowly over time. And gosh darn it, my dad went on to form a support group for stroke victims. And he became a volunteer at the hospital, counseling those with similar challenge. He passed out cards with that familiar poem, "I prayed for you today." And the last picture ever taken of him was while he was volunteering on St. Patrick's Day, sporting a green carnation and a big, bright green hat. And his grin stretched from ear to ear. And even though I was part of this chapter in his life, I asked myself, how did he do it again and again? So many struggles, so many challenges, and yet this man wholeheartedly, I mean wholeheartedly, believed in the power of positive thought, of God's will for good, of the divine order that leads us exactly where we need to be. And he believed it not only when he arrived in green pastures, he believed it even when the chips were down, so to speak. And though I believe in divine order with my head, sometimes my heart whispers that something was missing. Did I get that right? Maybe it is my heart. Does it have the faith? Maybe it's just my head that has the doubts, not truly my heart. As any parent, at times I did think, wasn't he supposed to help me, to give me all of his wisdom and the skills needed for my life, from his life experience? Wasn't he supposed to always be there? You know, dads today often seem to be a bit more expressive with their emotions, a bit more comfortable with the risks of opening up and being vulnerable. But it was not that common for dads of his era to be a bit more reticent. There is a definite place for conveying strength and steadfast security to your children. But there is also a benefit in sharing how to maneuver through the potholes of life, letting others benefit from the lessons that you have already learned. The bottom line is there is a real value in bringing your full self forward. I think some misunderstandings about unity basics have occurred, thinking that we have that had contributed to my father's withholding, a manly concept, perhaps. At least I know it felt that way at times for me. We teach in unity the power of our affirmations, but also of our denials. We must deny the power that negative feelings, erroneous or limiting thoughts can have over us. It took quite a while to make that distinction for me between the power over me and the power moving through me, denying my personal experiences or rising above them. In other words, at times, I became adept at the old spiritual bypass. I sometimes pretended just never having feelings of fear or anger or doubt. I denied their very existence and jumped right into an affirmation. It took me a long time to realize that those weights had only been buried somewhere deeply inside of me, forced to live in the shadowland. It was only after I could bring them out into the light of day that I could see them clearly, understand them, and then finally release them, beginning to make room for healthier ways of living. The art of emotional distancing, denial, and withdrawal is not exclusive territory for men. We are all equal opportunities for this pothole. In fact, many of the characteristics we commonly hold to be male or female actually lie somewhere on the continuum that belongs to both men and women. As with most parts of life, our goal is to find that magical center point, of balance within ourselves, within our relationships with one another, light and dark, active, passive, giving, receiving. What are your own tendencies? What parts of yourself are easy for you to express? What parts of your true self do you withhold or perhaps loan out to another family member? Are you safe in expressing your anger because you have entrusted to a loved one that they should have the role of peacemaker? Are you comfortable in always giving in to another's wishes because that person seems to know how to be in charge? Are the dark places of depression made bearable by the light cast from this partner? The relationship dance is one we all do. Give a little, take a little. This dividing of duties can be effective when managing a household or chores or childcare needs. It may also be an effective way to support a loved one going through a challenging time. The danger arises when these habits become clearly defined roles. Things seem to work smoothly with a minimum of friction when we all do what we're good at, what we each are comfortable with. We begin to take for granted that someone else can pick up the slack and those other parts, those shadowy, undeveloped parts of ourselves lying dormant. It is the way we do things, you might say, both personally and culturally. Changing our patterns of interaction can be scary. Change causes large waves of emotion to erupt family patterns, social norms disturbed. When you don't play your fixed part, it requires others to examine the role they've grown accustomed to as well. I got a lesson in taking habitual roles for granted some 20 years ago when my husband and I were first dating. It was exciting to dance together. When we were first dating, he had been a dance instructor and was a very strong lead while we were dancing. We seemed to partner wonderfully. And I think, well, my friends, I got just a little bit puffed up about how well I was doing. I thought, oh, I'm a natural. I'm doing a great job, despite my lack of experience. Until the first time I had to switch partners and I danced with a man who was also a novice. Oh, Lordy, we stumbled and collided and generally just shuffled about until the song ended. I have to admit, it was dreadful. It was not good at all. And I realized it had been so easy with my partner, with Eric. I realized how little I had truly learned about dancing. I had just been following along closely everywhere he signaled me to go without mindfully thinking about it or really even trying to learn. Not to diminish the art of following, but I needed to understand more. I wanted to learn how to hold up my end of the partnership. I wanted to be a dancer too. And I realized how much simpler it had been to dance on my father's leather wingtip shoes than to create this adult partnership. It turns out dance partners can be like life partners. And there's a dynamic tension that creates a beautiful pattern of partners finding their own balance, neither pulling back or away from their partner, nor leaning necessarily on each other for support. Their contact has to be a closeness that informs and directs their awareness. Dance partners need to be able to trust one another and to rely upon clear communication using all their senses. Each partnership, of course, is unique and holds its own set of challenges and of blessings. And in the dance of life with partners, we can resist or deny what we encounter, or we can use it as another opportunity to grow. My thoughts return once more to that first dance on my father's feet, and how wonderful that experience with my father in such a loving way carried through my whole life. And I recognize that not everyone has that particular blessing. He helped to shape me into who I am today, and I am truly grateful. When I reflect now upon the parts of him that were wounded, wondering how his healing occurred, I began to wonder if the first time in a long time that I had thought about it, what he obviously did. He let it all go. Buddha once said that our great teachings are like a raft that carries across the river. We bless and honor it for its important service. And then, my friends, we release it. We release it when we reach the other side. To be sane and healthy, loving, balanced man, I knew my dad must have gotten to the other side and let it go. Perhaps the lesson for me is that he got there. Maybe he did bring his whole self forward. And then maybe I can too, because I did learn about faith. Maybe we each need to find our own way to the other side, following our own journey into wholeness. Maybe it wasn't the way of spiritual bypass and blind denial that is the life lesson. Maybe he let go and let God. And there aren't enough words to describe that miracle. All that I know is that there was a lightness of beauty and grace to his dancing that I still remember to this day. We all play a part in this marvelous dance of life. My friends, embrace your role and dance. Namaste. 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 Amen.